Good afternoon, boys and girls, and wherever you are or whatever you happen to be watching on, thank you very much for tuning in and watching episode 69 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise. And this feels like a bit of an awkward one because those of you who have tuned in, presumably you know why you've tuned in, but you will see that there is a bare table next to me. I just need to go on the tablet and make sure that everything is coming through fine. We've already got two hellos, which I think suggests that we are coming through fine. Ashfaq, hello, and Fahmi says hello as well. So yes, this bare table. Tomasz says hello as well. Hi. Guerlain Extrait says Ashfaq. No, not quite. The point of this episode, some of you may have been aware if you follow me on the blog on persolaise.com, that Wednesday marked the 10th anniversary of me setting up the blog. Which just seems impossible. It just seems completely ridiculous. I have no idea where those 10 years have gone, but I obviously needed to mark the anniversary in some special way, even if it's just to to say thank you to all of you for supporting me for the last 10 years. So I did a little bit of a special blog post. I was wanting to do some things on the anniversary itself, but last week I was just a little bit poorly, and so things got delayed. We'll come back to people being poorly in a second. So today I thought let's do at least one special episode. I'm aiming for two. We'll see how that goes. And in this episode, I want to do something that I've been asked to do lots and lots of times, but I've always resisted doing, which is, and I don't even know why I feel nervous about this. I think maybe we'll need to explore. I'll get on the psychiatrist's couch and, or no, you can get on the psychiatrist's couch and I'll lie down. Explore why I feel nervous about this, because today I'm going to aim to present to you my top 10, my personal top 10 perfumes, as in the top 10 that I actually personally enjoy wearing. So it's going to be interesting. I hope there will be a lot of interaction. So if you are tuning in live, please make sure that you get some banter going, because I will be relying on you to make this video entertaining. There are no press releases for this one because none of these is a new release. None of the 10 that I've got here is a new release. And the plan as well, depending on how this goes, you never quite know with these live broadcasts, of course, but I will aim to keep this one to under an hour, because I think YouTube gets a little bit funny when videos get longer than an hour with uploads and things like that. And then we'll take a little bit of a break, maybe 10 minutes max, and then I'll come back with what I think in the YouTube parlance or podcast parlance is called an AMA video, as in Ask Me Anything video. So start thinking of some questions, and hopefully that will be the video where we'll actually just have a bit of a chat. And you can tell me about your perfume preferences and ask me some of the questions that you may have wanted to ask. But I should point out now, this is still Persolaise here, who's very, very circumspect and very private about lots of things. AMA, Ask Me Anything, doesn't mean that Persolaise will answer anything. So you can ask what you like, but I may respectfully have to decline to answer. But anyway, that's for after the hour. So let me see what comments we've got so far, because I am hoping that this will be a really, really interactive session. Who have I missed? Tomasz says hello, Ashfaq. We've done that. Peggy, Mr. P, 10 years already. I know, it's just ridiculous. 6 a.m. in Canada, says Mystery Forms. Thank you very much for tuning in. That's very kind. Congratulations, says Ashfaq. Thank you. Muaz gives me a thumbs up as well from Marcus. I hope to see a Creed in your personal favourite list, Ashfaq. Hope on. Hi, sir, says Aperol Spritz. Christine says hello. Angeline says hello. This is amazing. Thanks very much for tuning in. Creeds are not that bad as one might think they are, says Tomasz. We'll save that one for the Creed video, shall we? And Q George says, happy 10th anniversary, and also Beautiful Bee Bottle, says Marcus. I had to put something on there, and this is, so everything is kind of symbolic. We've got a hyacinth because we're trying to bring a little cheerfulness into proceedings. We've got the card that Madame Persolaise gave me to congratulate me on the 10th anniversary, and we've also got my book, to which I may refer, because I'm pretty sure that every single perfume in my top 10, I'm kind of looking down at them here because that's where the bottles are, is in the book, which actually stands to reason. Hello from Poland, says Mateusz, cześć, and Lynn Smell says lovely card too. Yes, I was very, very, very lucky. I got a beautiful card, and I got a beautiful perfume bottle shaped cake, homemade. And Aperol Spritz. Among this global crisis, it's a relief to see you live stream. Perfect timing. I couldn't have asked for better timing because I thought I cannot go without mentioning that obviously the world is in quite an unhappy state at the moment for very, very obvious reasons, and I don't want to dwell on that, although there was a bit of me that was thinking, is it strange, is it appropriate doing a live stream celebrating perfume at a time like this? But then on the other hand, I thought, well, surely we've sort of got to carry on as normal. And I was also encouraged by some messages that I've been getting in the last few days from people who actually have been quarantined or holed up in various places, saying that they have been enjoying watching my videos. And particularly, we need to do a shout out. I don't know if he's watching at the moment. Perhaps he'll watch afterwards. I don't think he's been able to tune in for a lot of the live ones. But a special hello to you, Stephen in China. He sent me a very, very, very nice message to say, because he actually has been quarantined in China, and I think the quarantine there is lifting in a few days' time. And he said that he's been watching and rewatching my videos, and I just thought to myself, if me sitting here with the iPhone, live streaming, talking about perfume, talking about beautiful things, can actually brighten somebody's day, then surely that can't be a bad thing. So yes, let's just take like 5 seconds to send good thoughts to people out there who maybe are not in the best place at the moment, are a little bit scared, a little bit worried about things that may be on the horizon. Finally, I get to watch you live again. Happy to be here. Saeed from Abu Dhabi, thank you very much for tuning in. Umberto says hello as well. Nice in these times, yeah. Ashfaq, what are you wearing? L'Heure d'Or by Sultan Pasha. It's completely safe, says Lynn Smells. Well, exactly. This is completely, it's one of the few things that we can do that's completely safe. And Lapidus Poem is the antidote for Corona, says Mr. Caravaggio. I'll take your word for it. I think we need to smell some perfume, because I've already, hello from Virginia, says Catherine. I've already been wittering on for almost 7 minutes, and we haven't done a single perfume, and we need to do 10, and we need to do them in under an hour. So let's go. The first one is one that I already trailed on Instagram, and I thought, let's get the obvious one out of the way. Because those of you who know the blog and who know these videos will not be at all surprised to learn that pride of place in my top 10 is Habit Rouge from Guerlain. And actually, I've just realized I should have given a little explanatory note. These are not what I consider to be the top 10 best perfumes of all time, okay? This is, when I say personal, I mean really personal, as in I sat down and I thought, okay, what do I actually enjoy wearing? So if I'm not reviewing something, if I'm not bothered about wearing something new, if I just want to wear a perfume because I think it's a beautiful perfume, and it's something that it's something that is one of my perfumes, rather than a beautiful perfume that I associate with somebody else. So, for example, in the top 10, I can tell you now, we will not have Frederic Malle's Portrait of a Lady, because I do think that that is one of the most amazing perfumes of all time, but I don't wear it because Madame Persolaise stole it from me. I wore it first, and then she basically said, what is that? I'm having it. But that is now her perfume, and so I don't wear it, and it's not in my personal top 10. The same would go for something like Naama from Guerlain. An amazing perfume, absolutely, again, one of my favourite perfumes. And even though I do wear it, I still completely associate it with Madame Persolaise, so it won't be here either. So this is really, really personal, and as such, it was really difficult to come up with. You all know that I am a classic overthinker, which is why Love at First Scent and these live videos and things take me well out of my comfort zone. The whole point of them was to take me out of my comfort zone, because it's about instant reactions. And last week I thought, okay, if I overthink this, I am never going to get this done. So I thought, right this second, type out the first 10 perfumes that you love that come to your head. So this is my personal top 10 now. It may change next month, it may change next year, it probably will change next year. And of course, when I started getting to numbers 8 and 9, I thought, oh, but what about this one? What about that one? And I had to stop overthinking it. And I did come up with 10, but I could also tell you what some of the ones below the top 10 were. Anyway, Habit Rouge from Guerlain, made by Jean-Paul Guerlain, 1965. I have absolutely no doubt that a lot of you out there will know. It almost feels redundant smelling these things now. And should we even do a blotter update? I don't know. Should we do a blotter update? Don't forget the whole thing. Good question, Umberto. EDT. Yes, this is the Eau de Toilette. I think still my favourite iteration of Habit Rouge. I remember having a conversation about it. This is name dropping, sorry, but it is accurate. I've got to look there to. Oh, geez, I've just got a whiff of this. And now I can slow down and we can actually enjoy this. Good place to start with Habit Rouge, because isn't it just, well, perfection. I'm going to be saying this. I'm going to be saying this 10 times in this video, because I do think the ones I've chosen are just, funnily enough, talking about anniversaries and 10 years, I'm just looking here because I'm going to have to array these 10 bottles as we go somewhere around the B bottle. They're not all Guerlains, by the way. Keep the comments coming. I will probably read them as we finish one perfume. Funnily enough, when we're talking about 10 years, one of my main memories that I associate with Habit Rouge is actually of something that happened about 10 years ago. Do you remember 10 years ago, the world was facing a crisis of a very different kind, a much more benign kind, because that was when the Icelandic volcano, whose name I don't want to attempt to pronounce, erupted. And Madame Persolaise and I, at the time, were in Istanbul on a holiday, and we got stuck. Our flight was one of the first flights that got cancelled. Cut a long story short, we ended up coming all the way back from Istanbul to the UK on various trains. And I just remember being fixated by just desperately wanting to come back home so I could smell Habit Rouge. I'd never turned it into the smell of comfort or the smell of home in my mind before that, but for some reason then it just became this thing that I didn't think I was going to feel like I'm properly back at home until I went to my perfume cupboard and got out the Habit Rouge and smelt it, and I still have such a vivid memory of doing that. It was Easter 10 years ago, because we went away during the Easter break, so it must be coming up to the 10-year anniversary of that. Of course, funnily enough, it turns out that Bertrand Duchaufour and I were in Istanbul at the same time, not that we knew each other then or met each other or anything, and he then went on to compose Traversée du Bosphore for L'Artisan Parfumeur. So for the few of you who don't know Habit Rouge, one of the best-selling masculines in France ever, maybe less so now, because I think the generation of men now associate it too much with their dads and their granddads, and so they want to smell different, and they don't go for Habit Rouge so much. They go for Sauvage and Bleu de Chanel, never mind. But it's widely regarded to be one of the first, or certainly one of the most important orientals for men. It is very much like a kind of masculine Shalimar. So it's built on an amber base, a beautiful Guerlain amber, and it's got a very, very pronounced leather note, a very, very strong bergamot note, same as Shalimar. And I love Luca Turin and Tanya Sanchez's description of it in their book, because I haven't got it to hand actually, but they say that it's got this quality of smelling like sweet dust, the most gorgeous sweet dust, and it has got that kind of icing sugar, powdered leather feel to it. It's I'm going to be lost for words on this video as well. There is. I'm going to be saying so many of the things so often today, because I'm going to be using words like, impeccable balance and harmony. But to me, as an expression of masculinity, Habit Rouge is kind of unbeatable, because it encompasses so many of the things that I associate with masculinity. So it's got strength, it's got virility, it's got that touch of, I suppose, brute aggressiveness that we may associate with masculinity, but it's also got delicacy, it's got a very, very tender, poetic soul. Somehow all of that is in Habit Rouge, and if only they had just come up with a name that somehow didn't link it with horse riding and horse racing and hunting, because that's the one thing that I always just try to get out of my head. And I think I went off on a tangent as well, because we were talking about the best iterations. I do think the Eau de Toilette is the best one, and I think Thierry Vasseur agrees. There are several other versions out there as well. I like the Eau de Parfum and I wear it. I like the Extrait and I wear it sometimes. But I always come back to the EDT. There's something about its balance and about the blend of all of those various elements that just seems to work perfectly. We need to move on. Ashfaq, have you smelled the HR Extrait? Yeah, I've just answered that. I love Habit Rouge, says Iris. Never tried that. I've only experienced the dress code version. Do they differ? Yes, yes, yes. Dress code is much more modern, much more gourmand. You need to try that one. This one rather. And Umberto says, I'm at home with the Chanel exclusives. Well, stay tuned. If I had to choose a Chanel exclusive in my top 10, which one do you think it would be? I remember some flights were delayed at the time, says Ashfaq, and I was busy running between Frankfurt and East Midlands. Ah, see, we were all stuck. Dress code has a nice Praline note. Thank you very much, Marcus. Absolutely. Eric says it's one of the few masculines I really enjoy wearing. I'm lucky enough to have some 90s EDT. Ooh, it would be interesting to compare. This isn't 90s. This is a lot newer than that. I've always had trouble picking out the leather in Habit Rouge, says Sniffy Sniff. It is there, but it's not, you know, it's not an in-your-face leather at all. Bill says, I dug out my Habit Rouge and I'm going to smell it with you. Well, enjoy. Christine bought it for my husband, then stole it for myself. Gorgeous stuff. Really love Habit Rouge in all its forms, says Marcus. EDT, EDP, low dress code and extrait. Tomasz says, I found Habit Rouge most exciting to my nose, but since Persolaise is talking so sweet things about the original one, I will have to smell it now myself. Yeah, well, you know, each to their own. The leather is clear on my skin when it's warmer, says Ashfaq. Fair point. And I pulled out the EDT and sprayed it on my skin. I forgot how beautiful HR was and is. I mean, just such a stunning scent. And Persolaise needs to move on because it's 16 minutes and we've only done the one. We will have to do these quickly because you guys just want to know what they are, right? You don't necessarily want me to keep wittering on about them. Right, I'm just going to randomly reach for one. Let us do, talking about representations of masculinity. So Habit Rouge is all about balance and harmony. This one has a very, very, very particular message to spell out about masculinity. And let's see the comments coming. How many people are going to go, oh my God, oh no? How many people are going to say yes? So this is 1981 with a wrong cap. I've lost my cap and we're going to try and say that this is Love Antaeus. This is Chanel's Antaeus from 1981. It is a bargain when you consider what some niche houses charge for some blip, says Ashfaq. Do you mean Antaeus or the... and this is by... oh, here we go. Yes, I love it, says Mr. Caravaggio. This was by the then in-house perfumer Jacques Polge, who is, of course, the father of the current in-house perfumer Olivier Polge. And this is a funny one because I actually remember this being out and about and around in the Middle East, you know, and some of you will be aware that I have talked about growing up in the Middle East. Hang on, I need to get like a better monitor so I know what's going on. And I remember at the time basically thinking, what the hell is this? But I didn't actually come to love it until maybe in the last 15, 20 years. See, it is, you know, smelling it now, trying to smell it a little bit more objectively, it is very, very 80s, and it probably hasn't aged as well as Habit Rouge, maybe because it is a product of its time. You know, now I'm sort of smelling it and thinking, wow, I've never really thought of such a strong connection with the leathers and the animalics of Kouros, you know, from YSL. But number one, I think it's always been a little bit harsher on paper. Like that Chanel doesn't discontinue Antaeus. I know, thank goodness. Can you imagine? I've got 2 backup bottles, so I should be okay. But I still love it. And what was the Ferragamo that Testa di Moro, the one that I put on my list of or the best perfumes of 2019. So dig out that review. That was like Antaeus made a little bit more palatable to modern tastes. Antaeus always reminds me of Christian Bale in American Psycho. Does he wear it then? I can't remember. It's not the best association to make. I mean, okay, I suppose as far as grooming routines are concerned, you know, you can't really beat that character, but otherwise. But what I was going to say, Persolaise likes leather, that's quite obvious. Yeah, I think you know, I'm sort of looking down, and you know, if you look at my book, I think, and you know, this is an unashamedly personal video, okay? So I think we're going to be getting a leather theme running through. Maybe what I should also do at some stage is the top 10 perfumes that I like smelling on Madame Persolaise, because I suppose that would sort of bring the, I suppose vaguely then what we would be saying is, indirectly I would be saying these are my top 10 masculines and those would be my top 10 feminines. Although even that's not strictly true, because I think there may be some perfumes for men that I might put in a top 10 of the perfumes for men, but not necessarily in my deeply, deeply personal top 10, if that makes sense. Because, you know, there might be some citrus scents, you know, some colognes that I think ought to go in the list of top 10 perfumes for men, but wouldn't be in my personal top 10. Anyway, where I was going, it sounds like Cuir De Russie is coming up. Balance, but what do you both wear, says, as in one perfume that we both wear. We don't have one like that. We absolutely don't have one like that. Where I was going with this is that Antaeus, I think, has always worked better on skin, and to me, it has always, always, always been about the dry down. The beeswaxy, sweet, balsamic, resinous dry down is, again, guess what? It's perfection, and it's so beautifully balanced, and everything about the perfume, you know, the fact that the inspiration comes from mythology and gods, you know, there is something divine about it. There is something monumental about it. I remember the advert making quite an impression on me, because wasn't the original advert basically just a guy carrying a massive obelisk, and of course he had to be, you know, semi-nude, semi-clad, and the thing that he was carrying turned out to be a bottle of Antaeus. Have I misremembered that? It's probably out there on YouTube somewhere. And everything just worked. But when you think about this, you know, when you think about the fact that this was a mainstream masculine coming from a super mainstream, totally mainstream house, and now we get Bleu de Chanel and Sauvage. So Antaeus always has a special place in my heart. I have to be careful with wearing it though, because Madame Persolaise finds it a little bit too much. She finds it a bit harsh. I should also say, by the way, wherever there are any relevant other videos to link to, I will do a little link to them in the description below. So, for instance, videos or posts. So 5 years ago, when Habit Rouge reached a big anniversary of its own, I did a whole series of articles on Persolaise.com interviewing different people about what Habit Rouge means to them. I interviewed Thierry Vasseur about it. I also managed to interview Mathilde Laurent, who was current in-house perfumer at Cartier, but she worked at Guerlain for a long time. So I'll link to that. I'll see if I can find anything that's relevant to Antaeus as well. So do read the video description, but it may take me a little while after the live broadcast to update it with that. And also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. Please consider supporting my work through Ko-fi. A huge thank you to the people who were so generous on Ko-fi for my 10th anniversary. Really appreciated. Let's see what comments I may have missed. So far so good, says Angeline. I love them both. I don't find Antaeus old smelling though, or maybe I like modern scents less. Yeah, maybe. Nelly says, yes, I would love it. That was the comment about doing another video. I hope there is Onda Naja Cuir De Russie. Let's see. Good morning, sir, says Lyndon. I love Guerlain. What is the best scent for men to try from Chanel, says Lyndon. Save that question for the next video, because we're going to try and do an Ask Me Anything video. Lyndon, you should try Egoist, says Mr. Caravaggio. Mateusz, everything from Chanel is the best. Perfumes are genderless. And Angeline is answering Lyndon as well. Thank you very much for that. Let's move on. So, third perfume. Where do I go? Third perfume on my personal top 10. Well, we're doing the big houses. So we've done a Guerlain, we've done a Chanel, there might be another Chanel coming. Let's find the connection here. So this was by Jacques Polge, so why don't we go Olivier Polge, and why don't we do this? This is, I'm just checking the date, 2005. There's got to be a lot of love for this one as well, although this one we actually talked about not that long ago. So this is the original Dior Homme from Dior, the one composed by Olivier Polge. I get my Oliviers and Jacques mixed up. The reason why we talked about this a little while ago was because, of course, Dior have just, bottles falling over, Dior have just gone and changed this, or renamed it, I should say. This scent is still available, but it is now being called Dior Homme Original, and the scent and the name Dior Homme is being used for a completely different scent composed by François Demachy, and I reviewed that on another video. but this is the one that I just adore. I thought it was, I was going to say it was such a game changer as far as masculine scents were concerned in 2005, except it didn't actually end up changing the game that much, did it? I think we all thought it was going to be a bit of a game changer, and it turned out to be a bit of an outlier, a bit of a rogue one. Not many comments coming through for this one. Where shall I pop this one? We need to make room for these guys. How's this going to work? Oh, and this is. Oh. Why do I say this was a game changer? Because it really seemed to capture what was happening with masculinity at the beginning of this century. We had the rise of metrosexuals. We had this real increase in, for example, guys adopting what were then considered to be more feminine rituals when it came to grooming, to looking after themselves, etc. And that gender bender moment, because this was all constantly referred to as a gender bender scent, was somehow captured by Dior Homme, because it's very, very sweet, it's very gourmand, and yet it somehow managed to come across as sufficiently masculine as well. And it did that teetering across several sides thing that a lot of the best perfumes do. For those of you who don't know it, and you really should smell it, it's basically a kind of gourmand apple iris scent, baked apple, cinnamon, nice bit of carrot seed and aldehydes at the top, the beautiful sort of powdery rootiness of iris on a vanillic base. And I loved this in all its forms, and by that I mean, you know, every single product that it came in. I remember the shower gel being really, really good, you know, deodorant stick, you name it. I just had it all. And I also really, really liked the Intense version. I think it was this one in the Intense that turned out to be my favourites. And the Sport, was it Sport? I do mean Sport. The very first Sport that they did, the one which had the ginger note. Because from that point onwards, I completely lost track, because they changed the Sport into something else. Then they did a cologne. They did a parfum version, which actually was all right, that one, but it was difficult to keep track of it, and I don't think they ever actually really beat the original. I see you've been saying a lot about it as well. What have we got? I love Héritage by Guerlain very much. So do I, actually, but it's not in the top 10. Does anyone love Cartier Declaration Parfum? I think I reviewed that a while ago when it came out. Mr. Caravaggio, I recently bought Dior Homme 2018 batch, but I found quite diluted and watery compared to my old 2013 batch. Interesting. Dior Homme Parfum is gorgeous, says Ultra Supra. Definitely surprised Homme didn't beget any other perfumes in hindsight. Iris is interesting, says Umberto. Which fume are we sniffing? Sorry, just tuned in, says Tashara. That's fine. We're only on number 3 and we're at the half-hour mark, so I need to get a move on, because this is meant to be a top 10. Dior Homme is pleasure to wear from top to bottom, says Jay. Absolutely. And Mateusz, I still have the 2005 formulation. Gosh, I mean, I like it very much, but I'm not going to cry after it. I have Valentino Uomo, which is sort of similar to Dior Homme and composed by Olivier Polge. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I think it has that iris thing happening there as well. I actually quite like the O version, says Sniffy Sniff. Fair enough. Dior always mess things up, says Umberto. What, always? Really? Okay, let's move on. And now let's go... Where should we go? Because 2 of the brands are going to be repeated, so I suppose I should wait for those. Let's go here. Let's go to one, because somebody said Persolaise likes leather, and yeah, I think I'm looking down at the collection, and yes, I think I do. This is, you can see I like this one, because I've got hardly anything in this bottle left, but I do have a backup. I think I have at least one backup. This is, in case you can't see it, this is Etat Libre d'Orange, and it's Tom Finland, of all things, from Etat Libre d'Orange. Characteristically hilarious and also inappropriate video on this, on the Etat Libre d'Orange website, but then hilarious stroke inappropriate is their modus operandi. This is a 2008 scent composed by Antoine Lee. And this is an interesting case in point, actually, in the difference between my personal top 10, my favourite top 10, and what I may consider to be the best top tens. Don't Google search it while in the office, says Ashfaq. No, probably not. I'm guessing there will be a tower, says Angeline. Oh, see, I don't need to do this because you guys know me so well, which is why I think these things where I end up just rabbiting on about myself, I think you don't need to do it. I should just stop the video now, right, and just let's just do a new release. I like Tom of Finland art, though, says Tashara. Well, the art is striking, to say the least, but yeah, very well done. So, what was I saying? I actually think that Rien from Etat Libre d'Orange, also composed by Antoine Lie, is probably a better perfume, but it's not in my personal top 10 because I associate it too much with a member of my family who just wears it all the time. You know, it is his perfume, and so I can't wear it anymore. Although if he hadn't stolen it, then I probably would have been featuring that one here. But I do love Tom of Finland as well. I'm actually expecting a Davidoff coming up, says Banda. Well, you never know. You never know. I do love Cool Water. Whether it's going to be featured here, I don't know. Tom of Finland is I think superb. Should we put Tom here somewhere? Maybe that would be a good place by the card. And I also find Tom of Finland interesting in a kind of in the sense of raw materials. I don't know if any of you out there have had the opportunity to smell. I'm pretty sure it's a Givaudan material called safraline, which is very much reminiscent of saffron. And I think if you come from a certain part of the world, the smell of saffron, you also automatically start associating things with things like steam and heat, because you usually use heat to bring out the flavors of saffron, especially if you're putting saffron on rice, you know, if you're making like Iranian saffron rice. And safraline is a major component, this material safraline is a major component of Tom of Finland, and I still think it's the perfume that makes the best use of safraline. I'm kind of waiting for somebody to do another safraline perfume. Comme des Garçons did it, but I forget what perfume it was. So this is the drawback of doing a live broadcast. It was maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. And safraline does pop up in other perfumes, but this Tom of Finland is kind of like a showcase for safraline, because there is something herbal and floral about it, like saffron. Absolutely something leathery, like saffron. Somehow natural and synthetic at the same time, and Antoine Lie has built this really, really convincing storm. You know, it's a very well named perfume as well, because it goes with the cartoony quality of the Tom of Finland art, because I don't know about everybody else out there, but I think, I was going to say tongue-in-cheek, which is probably the worst expression you could use in relation to Tom of Finland, but there is something facetious about his art. There is something tongue-in-cheek about his art, you know, because everything is so larger than life, and so you can't help but chuckle. And I think that the kind of larger-than-life quality, that same larger-than-life quality that Antoine Lie brought to Rien, has also been brought to Tom of Finland, but it manages to be more than just funny. It manages to be more than just chuckle-worthy. It is actually a really, really beautiful leather scent in its own right, and an interestingly sweet base that I hadn't necessarily noticed until now. But it's also so hot, you know, in terms of something conveying temperature. It's really, really superheated. It's, you know, this kind of things reaching a supercritical mass. I really think you could keep going with the innuendos and the single entendre with Tom of Finland, so maybe we should better move on, especially as we're only on number 4. Let me check out the comments here. Was somebody still going on about Dior? The intense version of the Dior is really exciting to me. Yeah, I like it too. Somewhat reminds me of Jill Sanders' Jill. Bill says 888 from Comme des Garçons. Was it 888? I honestly can't remember. I'd have to look it up. Tashara says, will this list be on the blog? Yes, absolutely. You may need to give me a couple of days to put it up, but yeah, I usually link to the videos on the blog, don't I? So I suppose I should just list the perfumes there as well. Ashfaq says, when Guerlain and their peers started releasing perfumes for men and women separately, was there any hand of Edward Bernays? He's the nephew of Sigmund Freud. He was hired... I'm not even going to say save that one for the Ask Me Anything video, because I haven't got a clue. Gino says, I need to try that Tom. Haven't seen it here in Singapore. Sounds amazing. It is pretty good. It is pretty good. Oh, and Christine says, Comme des Garçons 2011. It could be. I didn't think it was as old as that. It could be. But I'm sure if you just Google Comme des Garçons Safraline, something will come up. halfway point. Let's do this. I was puzzled by Tom of Finland because of how it smells, has little to do with its symbolism, imagery, at least to me. But leather, I mean, I think the connection is kind of that leather, heat, uber masculinity, that kind of thing. Number 5 on my personal top 10. Which one is it going to be? It is, even though I am very, 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 very fond of the work of Christopher Chong, the now ex creative director of Amouage, I am going for the very first Amouage. Ooh, wobbly cap, nearly went flying into your face. But there were 2 Christopher Chong creations that nearly made it into the top 10, and I was sort of sitting there going, in case you're interested, the 2 that nearly made it are Epic Man and Interlude Man. I adore those 2 and I wear them a lot, but this is the one that I wear more than those, and I actually wore it a few days ago. This is Gold Man from 1983 when Amouage was launched, and this was composed by Guy Robert, although a lot of people will say that this formulation isn't like the original one anymore, that round about the time when Christopher Chong joined the company, things had to be changed a little bit. I think, by most accounts, the original was more animalic, more of its time, even though this one is very much of its time as well. This is... Now this I would imagine a lot of people out there may be thinking now, ooh, I don't like this one. This is grand stuff. This is probably the most symphonic. Imagine the classic gold in Etat form, says Ashfaq. I know, I would love to smell it. I wonder if you could still smell it if you went to the Amouage Museum in Oman. Oman has closed all its borders to tourists, by the way. I would have guessed Interlude, said, I missed who said that. I would have guessed Interlude, says Catherine. I'm wearing Interlude extract today, sublime. I see, but it's only the ladies that get the extracts made for them, which is a bit mean, and we can't even go complaining to Christopher Chong because he doesn't have anything to do with it anymore. Gold is the most symphonic in the top 10. It's probably the most classical in its construction. Ooh, I'm looking at one because I have actually got one that is over 100 years old, and that is quite classic in its construction as well. But this is a really, really grand, huge, operatic floral, an aldehydic floral, again with quite a pronounced leather note, with quite a pronounced civet note, and of course that beautiful, beautiful incense that became the trademark for the brand. And I don't wear perfume for compliments. I really, really don't wear perfume for compliments. A lot of the time what I'm wearing is actually something new that I'm thinking about reviewing or maybe talking about on a video. But I never, ever, ever fail to get somebody saying something like, oh my God, what is that? You smell amazing when I wear Gold Man. Ashfaq says Apres L'Ondee. Well, you guys are too good. you are too good. We'll do that one next then. You seriously are too good, actually. I could have just said, listen, Persolaise is doing a top 10 personal, just choose the perfumes and you'll probably be right. And was it this one that I think Luca Turin writes about in his first book, that it's amazing, but he can't ever imagine a guy pulling it off? And I don't know whether I pull it off or not, and I suspect that it probably wears me rather than me wearing it, but I don't care. I love it, and I love the few sort of ancillary products that you can get in it as well. It comes in a really, really nice shower gel. This is probably it's easy for a stalker, says Ashfaq. Fine. If only all stalkers were so nice. This is probably the smell of the pathway to heaven. If Habit Rouge is the smell of my heaven, then Gold Man is the smell of the pathway to heaven. It's just, you kind of smell it, and gold definitely wears me, says Catherine, and can give me a headache. Yeah, fair enough. It could be the aldehydes. That's actually one that I love smelling on Madame Persolaise. And actually, I think I need to get her a new bottle. Yeah, I don't think I've smelt it on her for a while. She smashed a bottle once. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine smashing? Not on purpose, obviously. We do row, but we don't throw perfume bottles around when we row. Hope she's not going to be watching this. We don't row at all, ever. We never row. We don't even talk to each other. No. But this is grand stuff. Okay, we're not doing too badly. We're speeding up. We've got 20 minutes to go, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to do. So actually, we should do the one that somebody just mentioned. It's the other Guerlain. It's from 1906, and it's Apres L'Ondee, composed by the one and only Jacques Guerlain, probably one of the greatest perfumers of all time, if not the greatest. This is, of course, a fairly modern version, apparently getting harder and harder to find, which is so sad. I would love to one day be able to smell the extrait whenever I look online to see if any, a few drops are available. It's just so prohibitively expensive. I can't justify, spending whatever it is, like £50 on a quarter of a milliliter, and I just can't justify that. But this is probably the most overtly feminine one in my top 10. Not that I care, but again, curiously, one that never ever fails to get some sort of a comment when I wear it. Oh, sorry for going back to it, but I was wondering where you got that vintage Dior from, says Mr. K. I've just had it for ages. I think it was a gift from my mum, actually, if I'm remembering correctly. I've just had it for a long time. I suppose it's the silver stem that reveals it as a vintage. I think I get lost with this. But anyway, Apres L'Ondee, after the rainfall, after the rain shower, never ever fails to just make me to stop, pause for thought. It's funny, at the moment I most associate this with the piece of fiction that I'm currently working on, because the main character in the piece of fiction that I'm writing is very excited when he finds some Apres L'Ondee extrait at a shop tucked away somewhere in Venice. And as I was writing that bit, I just thought, if only this would come true, if only I could just wander into a shop in Venice somewhere and just find a pristine bottle of Apres L'Ondee extrait. This is one of the most sorrowful scents that I can think of, but I mean that in a beautiful way. I'm not crazy about pre-Raphaelite art, as in the Victorian period of British art, but for some reason I always think of that very famous painting of Ophelia as she's drowning. There is something so haunting and so sad and so sorrowful and so beautiful about this. Dior's Dune is also a perfume that I think of as being hauntingly, beautifully sad. There's something about the interplay of the violet and the iris, and there is a sort of quality of rain to it, and that beautiful herbal inflection that you get in so many of the Guerlains. You can actually hear it. My voice immediately sort of starts going down a tone a little bit. So, gold is exciting, Habit Rouge is exciting, Tom of Finland is exciting. This is melancholy, but a sort of cathartic a melancholy that the most beautiful art can achieve. Like a really sad film, like one of my favorite films of all time, Remains of the Day. I would imagine, and also one of my favorite books of all time, I could imagine watching The Remains of the Day while wearing Apres L'Ondee. Mind you, actually that might be a recipe for disaster. You may not even want to carry on living after that, but you know what I mean. It's that sort of, I think art, sadness in art can help you achieve some sort of catharsis. Like beautifully written tragedy. There is something tragic about Apres L'Ondee. Angeline says, it seems Guerlain may indeed discontinue Apres L'Ondee. If I went to start a campaign, God, would I start a campaign for that one? One of the 20 greatest of all time, according to Luca Turin, says Marcus, yeah. And Mateus says, I haven't smelt it. Is the violet note really that prominent? I'm looking for natural smelling. No, it's not. The modern version actually has the iris more prominent. You would need to smell something older to get a closer interplay between the violet and the iris. Ashfaq says, if you like that kind of operatic perfume, Amouage Gold and the like, please try Ottoman Empire, Siberian Antiquity from Arich Le Doré. I think you'll love those, okay. And Christine says, Apres L'Ondee is beautiful for 5 minutes on me, then makes me so depressed I have to hold my arm at a distance. Fascinating, but isn't it amazing that perfume has the power to do this to us? So, very quick reminder, you are watching episode 69 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, a very special episode to mark the 10th anniversary of my blog, and what we are doing is that I'm sharing with you my top 10 personal perfumes of all time, as in the top 10 perfumes that I actually enjoy wearing for myself, on myself, as opposed to what I may consider to be the top 10 best perfumes of all time. So for instance, you're not going to get Chanel number 5 here. I think Chanel number 5 absolutely would be in my top 10 perfumes of best perfumes ever made, but not for me to wear. Banda says Hermès next. Oh, that's really bad, you know, because there isn't an Hermès. I was really agonizing over Jardin sur le Nil, and then in the end it didn't make it. So, sorry, no Hermès, but we should move on. And actually, let's go all out Arabian now. And next on my list, and again, like I said, this is actually stuff that I wear, not necessarily what I may think to be the best perfumes ever made. But one thing that I reach for quite often, and we've had it in these videos before, is the Oud Cuir D'Arabie from Montale, which, as far as I was able to find out, was released in 2006. It's still kind of difficult to know who the perfumer is for this brand. I know the perfumer is listed as Pierre Montale, but you know, you also read all sorts of things where people question whether Pierre Montale actually even exists as a person. This is, for me, the best Guerlain is Vol de Nuit, says Ashfaq. If I'm forced to pick only one for a moment, I thought you'd pick that one. Vol de Nuit is beautiful as well, but I prefer Apres L'Ondee. This is the extra concentrated version, because I remember, I don't know if the Paris shop still exists, but you could ask for anything to be extra concentrated at the Paris shop, and so I asked for this to be concentrated, and I got a really quizzical look. And this is one of my favorite ouds, if not my favorite, because it combines, it's just this perfect combination of a really nicely done animalic oud with leather and with tobacco. And I have a very strong memory of a really wonderful trip to Morocco a few years ago. Actually, going back quite a few years now, probably something like 12 years ago, where we went to Tangiers, we went to Marrakesh, and we went to Fez. Fez was utterly fascinating, and this for me has always remained the smell of the bazaar in Fez, and especially the tanneries. When you walk past the tanneries, the smell is beyond overwhelming. It's kind of like the smell of death, and yet it's really compelling. And while you're sort of thinking, oh my God, I can't get too close to this is the smell of death, there's another bit of you that's also thinking, but hey, if this was a perfume, it would smell really amazing on me. So perfume and death are actually closely linked, you know, sort of metaphorically, metaphysically. The flowers give off their most intense, their most interesting smell just before they die. And I think that idea of perfume and death, the two concepts are more linked than we like to admit. So that's the Montale, and I'm sorry I'm going quickly, but I have to. Vitali says, good afternoon from Stockholm. Apologies for joining very late. No, they probably got the idea from Le Labo, says Ashfaq. Who knows? And we have got 3 to do. So I think we should go to another Chanel. And you guessed this one anyway. This is Cuir De Russie from the exclusives. But I can tell you, because I can see on the back here, that this is the EDT. So I'm treasuring it. Because of course now this is only available as an eau de parfum, and I think the eau de parfum version is fine, but I don't think I will find myself reaching for it as much as I reach for this one. I think there's something just a little bit heavier and clunkier about the EDP. This one works. What I would love to smell actually one day, and it's kind of crazy that I've never smelled it, I need to get myself to a Chanel boutique to smell it, is the Extrait. Because of course this smell actually, its history for Chanel goes back all the way to the 20s, to 1924. And the Extrait that Ernest Beau made. Then they made an EDT in the 80s, and I think it's that EDT formulation that then got used for the exclusives. And of course a few years ago all of the exclusives were changed to EDPs. Now see, this is sophistication. This is the quintessence of Chanel. When Chanel do that, when Chanel do class and sophistication and French chic old world chic, but streamlined old world chic. When they do that well, they are unbeatable. Nobody does that better. And this manages to be really, really animalic, very, very pronounced barnyard note in here, but there is nothing crude about it. In fact, it is just like class in a bottle, and you're just imagining fantastically turned out people walking along a beautifully kept street. I smelled Jeudi at Maison Guerlain in Paris after begging the staff there. Ooh, how did that go? I have a 20-year-old Cuir De Russie, says Angeline, original EDT, which I've been trying not to finish. And what's that like? And I think it's the iris, because the iris, of course, was the common thread through a lot of the EDT versions of the exclusives. And to me, there's also I get a strong kind of spice and sandalwood note. You know, something that reminds me a little bit of Santal 33 from Le Labo, or Sandalo from Villaresi. Oh, Angeline, I'm a bit jealous now, says Ashfaq. Yeah, so am I. Do you think we could find out where she lives by like checking out? Probably not. And this is just, I'm getting something green here as well, almost like a connection with Bel Respiro, which is another exclusive that I love wearing in EDT form. That nearly made it on here. I love, love, love Bel Respiro. But this would be the smell of purgatory. You know, when heaven gets a little bit boring and you kind of want something to just shake things up a little bit, this would be purgatory for me. And we're doing okay now. 2 more to go. Let's go for the most obscure one. This actually, let me just make sure I haven't missed any comments. Cuir De Russie says, Antaeus always reminds me of Gucci Eau de Parfum, but Chanel's much better. Okay, fine. Thank you very much. This is likely to be the most obscure one. I would imagine this is the one that the smallest number of you will have tried. It's I think very readily available in Middle Eastern countries, and I almost didn't include this one, and I was looking at some of the perfumes that didn't make it onto the top 10. I'll tell you what they are now, actually. So we've talked about the fact that Epic Man and Interlude Man nearly made it, but they didn't. Timbuktu from L'Artisan Parfumeur nearly made it. I do enjoy wearing that a lot, but didn't make it. Gucci Pour Homme I love wearing, but that's really discontinued. I still have some of my, a few bottles, but so, I thought maybe I would include it. Dior's Leather Rouge hasn't made it. Again, something that I wear a lot. Frédéric Mal's The Night, Comme des Garçons Avignon, Amouage's Tribute Etat, Knisha 10 from Knisha, and the one Serge Lutens that I would have included is Sarrasin, their Leather Jasmine, again, leather. Those didn't make it, but as I'm looking at this list now, I'm thinking, oh, Leather Rouge. I actually wear Leather Rouge a lot, but didn't happen. And at first I didn't think of the one that I'm about to show you now, but I just sort of saw it out of the corner of my eye because it has a special place in my study, and I thought, oh my god, of course I have to mention this because I wear it quite a lot. Now, I wonder how many of you will recognize it just from the bottle. A few of you will. I'm guessing Ashfaq might, or Fahmi might, or Saeed might actually. If you're watching from Abu Dhabi, you might. So let's just give you a few seconds. You can see that it's a very, very, very thick, rich, dark brown oil form, and everybody's gone quiet. Nobody's saying anything. Should I just wait to see if anybody makes a comment? Good, this is gorgeous, says Ashfaq. Is it by Junaid? No. So why are you saying it's gorgeous if you don't know what it is? Do you just mean that the bottle is gorgeous? It is from the brand Swiss Arabian. You can Google them if you haven't already heard them of them. And this is called Mukhalat Malaki, which basically means royal blend or noble blend or royal mix. And this is my go-to if I want to wear a kind of the answer to all Arabian style rose leather ouds. This is instant Dubai for me. This is instant childhood, and there are lots and lots of perfumes out there that try to emulate this scent. I've just dipped the blotter into it because, as I say, it is an oil. Let's do a little bit of rearranging here. It also is available in the most. Your Arabic is superb. Do you have an Arab root? Says Bunda. What? Thank you very much. Well, because I said Mukhalat Malaki. Thank you. Do I have Arabic roots? No, I have Iranian roots. So there you go. That explains that one. But I lived in the Middle East for a long time. This is... Oh. End of programme. Persolaise had to stop the broadcast because he was just speechless after this. Oh, this is damn good stuff. You need to... And for what it is, it's actually... So it's become a little bit more expensive. It's been 2 years since I've been to Dubai. There may have been a trip planned, but foreign travel looks a little bit unlikely at the moment. Last time I was there, they'd sort of bumped the price up of this, and I actually didn't buy myself another bottle. I thought, oh, but they also do a really, really fantastic burning incense of it. So as in wood chips that have been infused with the scent, and you burn them on charcoal or on a burner. Just extraordinary, out of this world. And as I say, Farah Pahlavi wore Vivre by Molineux. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So if you want something that really, really convincingly sums up that smell that we now associate with the Middle East and with Arabia, so you know, that rose leather oud combo on really, really strong resinous balsamic base, this is it. Mukhalat Malaki. I'll write it out in the video description and on the blog. It's so beautifully, beautifully smoky. And this is another one. This is another one where Madame Persolaise said, "What's that?" And I just said, "Hands off. You are not having this." And sometimes if I really, really want to make an impression, as in I really want to make an impression, I may burn some of the incense, and whatever clothes I'm going to be wearing, I will sort of hang them over the burning incense so to let them take on the smell of the incense, and then I'll cover myself in this stuff, and then I succeed in really making an impression. Usually at perfume events where I want sort of people to go, "What the hell is that guy wearing?" Not that I normally like to draw too much attention to myself, but right, with 4 minutes to go, we need to do the last one. You've been very, very patient. Don't forget, what will happen at the end of this is that we will let YouTube do its thing, do the uploading. So probably after about 10 minutes, I will come back with an AMA video, Ask Me Anything video. We'll see how that goes. Maybe that one will only be 10 minutes long, but we have to finish with this. Somebody guessed what it might be. And which tower is it? You know which tower it's going to be, because I think you've been able to work out where my tastes lie. This is Lonestar Memories from Tower. That incense method was common in ancient Japan, says Eric. Ah, okay. This is still, I think, the most popular, the best-selling tower is L'air du désert marocain. But this has been my favorite from his brand from the moment I smelt it. And again, it's one of those ones where I always have a backup bottle. I don't even know where to go with these anymore. And this is Tower's Cowboy scent. And I always use this one if ever I'm doing a lecture or a little talk about perfume and I want to convey the power of perfume to tell a story. This is one of the ones I use, actually, together with Neela Vermeer's Ashoka, which I think has a very strong narrative quality, because you can really see here this idea of the cowboy who's been out, you know, working on the ranch, getting dirty, getting sweaty, but then at the end of the day, by the bonfire, he brews himself up, you know, a coffee, and then he finally washes the grime of the day away with a geranium-scented soap. And in that sense, it's a bit like Habit Rouge, so we've kind of come full circle, in the sense of trying to convey lots and lots of different ideas about masculinity. And I still think it's the most gorgeous, the most evocative thing that Tower has done, and can never, ever, ever get enough of wearing it. So, here we go. Thank you very much for paying attention and for tuning in. Big hugs to you and the missus, says Cuban Groove. Many in the top 10 have a note of leather. Yeah, we said that at the start. Angeline was waiting for this one. Madame Persolaise must not have any leather scent, says Bund. No, actually, no. It's interesting. I'm the leather guy. She's floral, ambers, but ouds though. That's the connection. That she likes wearing ouds. So please try and come back in a few minutes for the Ask Me Anything video. We'll see how that goes. If actually I find that I can't answer any of your questions, we'll just cut the video short. We can do that. But please consider subscribing to my channel. Please consider giving me hearts and thumbs up depending on how you're watching. If you're watching after the live broadcast, please feel free to leave a comment, ask a question, and with just a minute to go, thank you so much for helping me to get to this 10-year anniversary. I know I haven't been doing YouTube for 10 years, but I have been doing the blog for 10 years. And it is literally, if it hadn't been for your support and your encouragement and your generosity and your kindness and your humor, I would not have made it this far. So a huge thank you to all of you. You make this fun, you make it enjoyable, and I learn so much more from you than you ever do from me. So give yourselves a pat on the back. Thank you very much, and hopefully see you in a few minutes. Bye.